I will be showing you how to go from this to this. I will be comparing and benchmarking each major setting for graphics and performance differences so you can better optimize the game for your system, and I will be giving you my optimized settings as well. First, I want to show you some technical issues that I experienced while testing the game after the Day 1 update, officially known as Update 1. Firstly, when setting VSYNC to off, the frame rates and GPU utilization drop heavily, and only when setting VSYNC to any other option does this issue go away. So if you've been encountering such issues, this may be the reason. Secondly, at random times, the frame times can become very erratic and unstable, leading to micro-stuttering. This can happen at any time, in any location, no matter if the CPU is being hammered or not, and even after reloading or completely restarting the game, so be aware. Thirdly, when turning on motion blur and DLSS is enabled, this can lead to visual issues similar to trailing, which can be seen on Indiana Jones's hands in this clip. But if you turn motion blur off or keep it on but use TAA, this issue goes away. Now let's look at the CPU performance. Testing in the Vatican area, which is the most CPU demanding location I have found in the early game, with an R5 3600X. The frame rates average just over 60 FPS, with 1% lows dipping into the mid-40s, and the CPU utilization is over 90%. It's been quite a while since I've last seen a game utilize every drop of the CPU. One thing I would like to mention though is that every few meters, or feet for you Americans, there are autosave checkpoints which can momentarily halt performance. But other than that, and the random frame time issues, it looks like CPU performance is generally well optimized. Now let's get into the settings, starting with depth of field, which I have found disabling it doesn't really do anything as it always stays on. And now for the more interesting setting, depth of field anti-aliasing. With it disabled, the background can become very distracting, especially in the forest areas, and enabling it is the only way to go in my opinion. The texture pool size setting is very important, as this game eats VRAM for breakfast. Visually, in this scene, going above Ultra doesn't seem to improve texture quality, and only eats up VRAM, which can easily go beyond 12 GB of usage, especially when using full ray tracing, also known as path tracing. The shadow quality setting on low looks flat. On medium, it is a small improvement, but the shimmering is still there, and going any higher doesn't improve shadow quality any further. On Ultra, it can improve distant shadow quality a little bit. I would also like to point out that even on Ultra, the shadows have terrible cascades, or the transition from low quality shadows to higher quality ones, as it happens very close to the camera. Considering that shadows look like crap most of the time, I recommend medium so that you get a nice bump in performance either way. The global illumination quality setting has very little visual difference between low and high, dare I say almost indistinguishable during gameplay, but with a rather large performance impact. Keep it on low for the best performance. For reflection quality, when going from off to low, it looks like it actually does something to reflections, unlike any other option beyond low, which all look the same. I tested this setting in many locations and the results didn't change, so it may be possible that the options beyond low either don't do anything or what they do is almost unnoticeable and I missed it, as even the performance remains the same. For water quality, going from low to medium improves water quality a bit, and high enables water caustics, which add a subtle yet nice look to the game. As for ultra, I wasn't able to tell any difference, and in other scenes, the improvements can't be seen beyond medium, and performance is minimally impacted across the options. I recommend high for the best balance. The volumetrics can definitely look more defined on medium, but even on low, there's nothing distracting about it. So, save yourself a few frames and stick with low. You can always increase it later if you have some FPS to spare. For hair quality, I noticed a small improvement with medium, and high looked the same, but low still looked mostly similar, and there was a small performance impact on medium. So I recommend low for better performance. Texture anisotropic filtering looks gradually better up until ultra, and the improvement is very hard to spot on very ultra, but the performance impact is negligible across the board, so use very ultra if you want. Now for the fully ray traced settings, aka path tracing, starting with the RT Sun Shadows, which completely changes the look of the game and fully fixes the issues with shadows. Unfortunately, 99% of users won't be able to use this setting or any of the following path trace settings, as performance becomes laughably unplayable, not to mention the excessive increase in VRAM usage. As for RT reflections, it's a total waste in this title, as I haven't encountered any viable surface where this setting or even the regular reflection setting for it to make any tangible impact to image quality. RT indirect illumination replaces the regular ray traced global illumination for an immediately noticeable improvement, but performance tanks here as well, and VRAM usage becomes even more important with these settings, as 12GB can't really handle them. You will need a GPU with more VRAM. The vegetation animation quality setting gradually increases the number of vegetation that is animated, and there is a very small impact to performance on ultra, so I recommend high for the best balance. For upscaling, the game only supports TAA and DLSS, in which TAA looks absolutely horrible in this game. Even DLSS isn't the best implementation here, but it is still a major improvement over native TAA. Let's start by comparing full ray tracing on versus off, and to my surprise, the game crashed when using full RT with supreme textures. It's only when I dropped them to high did the game stop crashing, and performance is horrendous. Disabling full RT and bumping up the textures back up to supreme allows us to get playable frame rates. Now let's compare the max settings to the optimized settings, in which using the optimized settings while still at native 1440p at least in this location, doesn't really scale performance that much, as it starts to become CPU bottlenecked at around 60 FPS. But VRAM usage has dropped from near the 12GB limit to just over 10GB, giving the GPU some breathing room. Using DLSS quality finally increases FPS to average over 60 FPS consistently. After all these tests, if you can take only one conclusion from me, it's that you should optimize this game around your VRAM rather than just frame rates, and you should be good to go.